Hi guys, welcome to our Friday read. We're going to be doing something different than normal. We're going to be reading a book, and it is called The Man Who Walked Between the Towers. You can see it got the Caldecott Award. It means it was the best picture book that year. And the author is Mordicai Gerstein. Sorry. We're going to be reading this because today is 9/11 or September 11th, which is an important day in our history, and I want to be sure that we recognize that. And this is actually a positive memory regarding the Twin Towers. So I hope you enjoy this book. It's got some great illustrations. I think you're going to love it. All right. The Man Who Walked Between the Towers. Oh, and really quick, this is a true story. 1974, 1 year after I was born, I was 1 year old. In 1974, this man actually does this. When you read in the book, this actually happens. It's crazy. Okay. Once there were two towers side by side. They were each 1/4 mile high, 1,340 feet. The tallest buildings in New York City. And you can tell from the illustration how much taller the two towers are than the rest of the buildings. And those are good-sized buildings. A man saw them rise into the sky. He was a street performer. He rode a unicycle. He juggled balls and fiery torches. But most of all, he loved to walk and dance on a rope he tied between two trees. So think about how challenging that would be to try to balance on just a rope. He looked not at the towers, but at the space between them and thought, what a wonderful place to stretch a rope, a wire on which to walk. Once the idea came to him, he knew he had to do it. If he saw 3 balls, he had to juggle. If he saw 2 towers, he had to walk. That's how he was. Hadn't he danced on a wire between the steeples of Notre Dame Cathedral above his amazed home city, Paris? Why not here, between these towers? As you can see right here is what he had done in his past. So he has experience. Of course, he knew that, as in Paris, the police and the owners of the towers would never allow it. You must be crazy, they would say. You'd fall for sure. And so Philippe, that was the young man's name, began a plan to do it secretly. The buildings are not quite finished, he thought. Maybe if I dressed as a construction worker. Early on an August evening, he and a friend entered the South Tower. They got a 440-pound reel of cable and other equipment into the elevator, took it to the unfinished top 10 floors, and waited till nightfall when everyone had gone. Then they carried everything up 180 stairs to the roof. Wow, sneaking like that. And then this is just a visual, just an illustration, no words. You can see them right here. Look at that massive cable. Think about why he would need to use cable instead of just regular rope in this case. At midnight, on the other tower's roof, 2 more friends tied a thin, strong line to an arrow and shot it across to Philippe, 140 feet away. So I'll pull back so you can see the whole thing. You can see them shooting arrow. And then down here, it missed and landed on a ledge 15 feet below the roof. Bad luck, thought Philippe. So what will he do? He crawled down the ledge over the sparkling city and got the arrow. To its line, he tied a stronger line, which his friends pulled back to their tower. To his end of the stronger line, Philippe tied the cable on which he would walk. It was 5/8 of an inch thick. So think about that. 5/8 of an inch, an inch is this. 5/8 of an inch, that's less than an inch. 4/8 would be 1/2 of an inch, so it's slightly more than 1/2 of an inch thick that he has to walk on with his feet. His friends pulled the cable over to their tower, but it was so heavy that it slipped from Philippe's grip. The cable's middle plummeted toward the street, pulling the friends on the other tower to the very edge. You can see Philippe, just in time, secured his end. I'll pull back so you can kind of see the whole visual of the friends hanging and the building. It took 3 hours to pull the cable back up. Frantically, as the stars faded, they tightened it between the towers. It was past dawn before they were ready. So again, I'll pull back. I love these visuals so you can kind of see the gradual process through the night, ending with dawn starting, and now it's ready. Philippe put on his black shirt and tights. He picked up his 28-foot balancing pole. All his life he had worked to be here, to do this. As the rising sun lit up the towers, out he stepped onto the wire. And I love this perspective. It's, interesting to see the foot, the larger foot on the tiny cable, but then below that you can see how high he is. I mean, this is the top of another building. That's how high he is. It's crazy. All right, I love this part. So there's no words. You can see it's just a visual of him. But then, look at this. It expands out to a third page. So I'll pull back a little farther so you can see him walking across. Above, you could see how small the boat is below. It's a really cool visual. So we'll tuck that back in. And then this one does the same thing, but now we go vertical so we can really see the height. A woman coming from the subway might have been the first to see him. Look, someone walking on a wire between the towers. Now this part is so cool, really to show us the height. So now we've got 3 pages high. Everyone stopped and looked up. They gasped and stared. It was astonishing. It was terrifying and beautiful. A quarter of a mile up in the sky, someone was dancing. Police saw it too. So if you look at this massive shot, we're coming from the perspective of the crowd looking up, and you can see how tiny he is. Really cool. Officers rushed to the roofs of the towers. "You're under arrest," they shouted through bullhorns. Philippe turned and walked the other way. Who would come and get him? For almost an hour, back and forth, he walked, danced, ran, and knelt in a salute upon the wire. So he was out there for over an hour. That is just crazy. He even lay down to rest. The city and harbor spread beneath him. The sky surrounded him. Seagulls flew under and over. As long as he stayed on the wire, he was free. And that free is so symbolic. Free from getting arrested, but also he must have felt so free, just being almost like he's floating above the earth. When he felt completely satisfied, he walked back to the roof and held out his wrists for the handcuffs. They brought him to court. The judge sentenced him to perform in the park for the children of the city. Ooh. This he did happily. Though during his performance, some boys playing on his wire jerked it and Philippe fell, but caught himself. I love this. It's just blank. Now the towers are gone. So you can think about that illustration of what that represents, where there's no visual here. It's just now the towers are gone. And then they give us this, and you can now see that same shot with all of those tall buildings, only the Twin Towers are completely missing. And that's what it looks like today in New York. But in memory, as if imprinted on the sky, the towers are still there. And part of that memory is the joyful morning, August 7th, 1974, when Philippe Petit walked between them in the air. And again, what a beautiful visual, they're not there, but they're there, just the memory of them in the sky. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, it was a true story. They actually made a movie about it. I don't know if I've seen it or not, but thanks for joining me, and don't forget to answer the questions that go along with the book. See you next time.